congratulations.
Thank you.
Because the show that I saw the other day was really something, and it was.
What did you see?
Did you see Ragtime?
I did. Ragtime. It just happened to be the same show you're in.
Wow, excellent.
Yeah. How's it going? It's such a big. The reason I ask is it is such a big show, and you don't have all that space here.
No, it's completely epic.
Yeah.
It's an epic story. It's an epic show. It's an epic score. It's an epic book.
And you've got it into this very intimate space.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, the show that you saw, the space actually in a way facilitates the piece, because what I like about what we're doing with it is that it is very intimate, and I feel, I mean obviously I can't see it, but I feel like it brings the audience in, and it feels like you get to know the characters, like you're right upon them in a way.
Absolutely.
Because I don't know, sometimes when you see big productions of shows,
They feel like a big
they
tableau.
feel like they're a million miles away, and I you know, you can feel that rapport with the audience, I think. I mean, you can look into the audience and see people weeping. You know, so you think, well, we're doing something right.
Did you like Ragtime before you had to be in it? You chose to
You
be
had
in it?
to be in it.
Well, I had to see it last time when I saw it last, because my ex-wife was in it then.
Yeah.
So,
That's, of course, yes.
so yes. So next question.
That was a lovely production as well.
That was a
really
that
nice
was a really
production.
good production.
Yes,
yeah,
it was.
it was. I mean,
And she was fantastic.
I mean, in fairness, seems an age ago.
Yeah. It was 9/11 that the week of 9/11 that opened, I think.
Was it really?
In the Piccadilly.
Oh,
Yeah.
was
Yeah,
it?
yeah, that's why I think it had a lot of trouble.
Oh.
I remember seeing the original production, and it was this overblown, really big, full-on, mega $1 million production. Then I saw the one at Piccadilly, and I liked it because it did focus much more on the people rather than the set pieces.
Yes.
And this is pared down even further. For instance, in one of the final scenes, your scene with Coalhouse, when you're convincing him as the father to go out and surrender, I found it really touching, and I've never thought that the last 20 minutes of this show ever worked until
It's
the other
lovely, isn't it? That is such a lovely
I think the
scene.
intimacy of the space allows for a very different discipline of storytelling.
day. Yeah.
You know, you have the opportunity to get away with being as minimalistic as possible, almost TV
Yeah.
acting, you
Yeah.
know, and I think, you know, everyone's looking at us.
Yes.
You know that actually the back row can see that, so you don't have to do too much.
Right.
There's not too much, you know, overdevelopment of what you're trying to communicate.
Sure.
So you're not
That's a good
blurring
point.
it.
Yeah. Not so much playing to the back row.
Yeah, exactly.
And I
exactly.
think it's, you know, and there is something about the space, I think, that does and has made this a very interesting proposition for audiences to come and see. Very much so.
I watched you both. I was watching all because the actors play the musical instruments, and
Except
except you
He
guys,
don't.
because it's not like you don't have
Hang
enough
on,
to do.
I do play the glockenspiel
Do you?
He
and the
does.
cymbal.
He does.
Very well too. I'm
And
sure.
I was meant to
Disgusted
play
you
the
never
Glock.
noticed that.
I was meant to play the Glock at a certain point, but I'm off stage at that point, so that didn't work out too well.
Coming up here now on the stage and seeing how tight it all is. I mean, I remember seeing you know, everyone slipping away, and I thought, oh, that, you know, they must have
There
to
they
rehearse
go.
it. There's nowhere to slip away to.
No.
Like
No.
there is absolutely
No,
no room.
it's tiny.
And I don't know. I mean, there's obviously there would be argument to say is the piece too busy? You know, and it is. I mean, it is.
It's
In
busy.
moments,
There's a
it's
lot.
extraordinary,
There's a lot
and
going
that's
on. There's a
going-
lot of
of
people.
traffic. But I think the kind of the way that it's been placed in this space, I don't know, it's fascinating. It
But
makes
also
it-
too, it's the way it's written, isn't it? Because the way it starts, everyone's introducing themselves,
Yes.
and then an issue
Almost
is
a narrative in a way.
yeah, and then the
kind of thing.
family, and then the immigrants, and it's sort of layer upon layer. So it's almost suits that a little bit.
It does.
Yeah.
I mean, and especially when we see, you know, how each separate story, the fact that there is, you know, synergy between all of it. So I think within this space, you then, when you get everything laid on, you know, the layers within a small environment, actually, I think,
Have quite an impact.
yeah, it
in a lot of
creates
ways.
creates quite an interesting evening. You know, and you certainly get your money's worth. if
One
you
of
know
the
what I
most
mean.
beautiful scores.
It's incredible.
It is just beautiful. One of my favourites.
Have I told you that I was at the very first read-through
I think you do.
of
yeah.
Ragtime in 1996? So I
Incredible.
actually saw it in a space even smaller than this. It was just a studio theatre that seated about 100 people.
Yeah.
And it literally was, I was in the audience, and it was an invited audience, and there were literally just the cast, a couple of microphones dotted around, scripts in hand, and they
did
read
everyone
them.
leave thinking they'd seen something really extraordinary?
Everybody walked
Yeah.
away on a high,
Yeah.
on a cloud, because it was like, oh my god. And back in 1996, I mean, it was still very much like Les Mis was still, the great new show, and Phantom, and it was still close enough to when those shows were at their absolute peak, and Miss Saigon and things like that. And it was like, oh well, this is the next one. This is the musical that we've been waiting for to kind of take us to the next
Speaking
stage.
of the next ones, both of you have been in those sorts of shows.
Sure,
the big
yeah.
shows, many
Yeah.
of them. And you're very experienced. And I wonder, for those people, everyone wants to have been on the stage. Everyone's been in a school musical or something. We all, have those, little imaginings. What does it feel like for you to stand on stage in such a good piece and know that you are at the top of your game?
Do you want the real answer or a made-up one? I think we both had a moment, didn't we, where we said, I just don't know why we keep doing it. I'm terrified. What on earth are we doing?
What do you mean? It doesn't get easier.
No, it
doesn't.
doesn't.
And to fool oneself to think that we are at the top of our game is.
See, that's what I was watching. I was watching people being really good. And I was wondering, how do you convey that to the audience that it must, if you play the guitar, you want to get to a stage where you think, gee, this sounds okay. But as actors, I'm not sure that anyone ever gets to that spot.
No, not at all. I'm sure you won't mind me saying this, but we do, and thank you, we have been in a lot of things, but when you do stand on a stage where you've got individuals that are acting, dancing, singing, and they've had to learn the orchestration on an instrument, but it's the orchestration that is so detached from actually the tune that they're singing.
Yes.
How do you do that? And
They are
it's
amazing.
awe-inspiring, and it's belittling as well.
Well, it
because
makes you feel I'm not worthy, almost like I'm just going to walk on stage and sing a little song and then walk off again.
It's weird. It's very, very bizarre, and you feel a fraud in some
But
respects.
it is so inspiring, and the way they do it, it makes me feel like, oh, I'm just going to pick up the cello and play it, because they do it like actors would sort of say, right, well, I'm going to pick up this piece of scenery and just take it over there, and but they play it seemingly so simply that it really is. It has been quite an experience, hasn't it?
I think also it's a great eye-opener with respect to those who want to realise that dream.
All right, what's involved?
That actually, you do have to be multi-talented, I think, especially to achieve longevity in this industry.
More and more.
And also have like the strength of, you've got to have a spine made of steel. You've got to be able to survive. The performing side of things sometimes is not really the hard part. It's the other stuff. It's the
you have to
auditioning
be
for a
able to
job
ignore questions like what you've just done.
And just do
seriously,
it.
you actually have to ignore that, because if you then start dissecting it and everything, and
you get in your own
but then
way.
it's also, you think, oh, hang on, sorry, have I given you the impression that I feel
that I think I'm at the top
I'm
of
at the
my
top
game?
of my game?
No,
because
no,
that's
no.
we
not
never
what
do,
I want.
because we never. I mean, I don't feel. I still feel like I'm treading water and trying to get to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and I've been doing it
that's
for
the nature
such a
of it,
long
isn't it?
time.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's I've been doing this for 25 years now, non-stop.
31.
But it's harder now than it was.
Yeah.
All those years ago. It's so much harder.
Well, congratulations. 5 stars all round. Yeah,
Amazing.
practice is
I mean,
great.
that has been absolutely incredible today, to sort of wake up to all the Twitter feeds and everything, and it's just like bang, 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 bang. And I think on Facebook I just said, feeling humbled doesn't even begin to describe how I feel, because you go on this journey, this rehearsal process, and you don't quite know what you're putting together, because it's very organic, and it could be a car crash,
And half the
couldn't
time
it?
you're exhausted too,
and
because
you're
of
so
the time,
exhausted, and you don't quite know how your character comes across. You don't have that vision.
Well, you're not the one watching it, are
That's
you?
right.
I
And,
think the piece is.
you know,
I think that it's the plaudits that it's getting. I think is also at the success of an individual who's passionate about this.
Tom Southerland,
loved
the director.
Yeah, he's great.
Absolutely, it's a passion. It's not a job.
No.
For
No,
Tom.
it's vocational for him.
And I think the reason for that, he has an encyclopedia knowledge of musicals.
Yes.
It's extraordinary.
Yeah,
I mean,
I've
he's
heard
like
this.
the Wikipedia of musicals.
Yes.
And when he's able to reference things in this show, you know, he knows all of the lyrics. He knows all of the scripts.
I lost my voice for a while, and he
So
was
he's
singing in
singing
for me.
them,
So his understanding is when you're struggling with something, and he'll recall something that was, you know, 70 pages ago, and you think, gosh, okay, that's incredible, you know, and I think that's what's given, I think, this piece the talent that it is, because it's not just us, it's the talent of the piece, and I think it's the talent of someone's
vision.
I think apart from just people wanting to see it, because I think it's a great piece, it's actually really timely. The themes
Yes,
are
isn't
really...
the
it,
relevance,
though?
but the
Isn't
relevance
it?
is
It's
it's
extraordinary.
frightening. It's frightening.
Yeah.
Kind
and it's
of.
sad as well to think that you
Yeah.
know, the fact the piece was written 100 years. Well, the piece is about 100 years ago.
yeah.
The fact that nothing really has
No,
changed
no, the
in
themes
certain
are...
territories.
Well, I
That's
think
very
in
scary.
one of the reviews today there was a sort of a reference of father being almost likened to Donald Trump. Nice. You didn't read that one, did you?
No, I didn't.
Don't go there. Don't go there.
The
All I
character.
could think the other
character.
day, I was sitting in the audience thinking, I wish Donald Trump went to more musicals.
Yeah, absolutely.
Might make him a nicer band.
Ugh.
Anyway, we're keeping you from getting ready for tonight's show. Thank you very much for
Thank
speaking to
you
us.
so much.
And best of luck for the rest.
Thanks,
Thank
John.
you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.